From the dawn of civilization, humanity has sought to understand and heal the human body. This journey through the history of medicine is not just about the evolution of medical practices but also a reflection of how our understanding of the world has shaped our quest for health. Join me as we traverse through time, exploring the key milestones in the history of medicine, from ancient herbal remedies to the birth of modern clinical practices. Part 1. The dawn of medical knowledge. 3300 BC. Ancient herbal medicine. Our journey begins in the Stone Age, around 3300 BC, where early doctors in India utilized very primitive forms of herbal medicine. Imagine a world where every plant, root, and leaf held the potential for healing. These early healers, or shamans, relied on nature's bounty to treat the ailments of their tribes, laying the groundwork for future medical practices. 3000 BC. The origins of Ayurveda. Fast forward to 300 BC, and we arrive at the origins of Ayurveda in India. This ancient system of medicine is more than just a collection of remedies. It is a philosophy, a way of life that balances the body, mind, and spirit. Ayurveda introduced concepts such as the three dashas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and the idea that health is a state of harmony between these elements. 2600 BC. Imhotep. Around 2600 BC, in the land of Egypt, a priest-physician named Imhotep rose to prominence. Imhotep was not just a healer, he was later deified as the Egyptian god of medicine. His teachings and practices would influence medical knowledge for centuries to come, making him one of the most significant figures in ancient medicine. Part 2. The evolution of early medical practices. 2500 BC. Iry, the Egyptian healer. In 2500 BC, an inscription speaks of Iry, an Egyptian eye doctor and palace physician. He was known as the guardian of the royal bowels and the one who prepared important medicines. Iry's work highlights the specialization in ancient Egyptian medicine, where healers focused on specific parts of the body, a concept that would evolve significantly in later centuries. 1900 to 1600 BC. Akkadian clay tablets. During this period, Akkadian clay tablets on medicine have survived, primarily as copies from Ashurbanipal's library at Nineveh. These tablets provide us with a glimpse into the medical practices of ancient Mesopotamia, where rituals, prayers, and medicinal treatments were intertwined. 1800 BC. The Code of Hammurabi. In 1800 BC, the Code of Hammurabi was established. This set of laws included specific regulations on medical practice, including fees for surgeons and punishments for malpractice. It marks one of the earliest examples of legal standards in medicine, emphasizing the importance of ethical practice. 1800 BC. Kahan Gynecological Papyrus. Around the same time, the Kahan Gynecological Papyrus was written, focusing on women's health. This ancient Egyptian text provides detailed descriptions of gynecological conditions and treatments, showing the advanced understanding of female health issues in ancient Egypt. Part 3. Ancient medical texts and practices. 1600 BC. Hearst Papyrus. Moving forward to 1600 BC, we find the Hearst Papyrus, an Egyptian medical text that includes treatments for various ailments using copper therapy, and ancient practice that involved the use of dung. This text also includes magical spells, reflecting the blend of science and superstition in early medicine. 1551 BC. Ebers Papyrus. In 1551 BC, the Ebers Papyrus was written, one of the most extensive medical documents from ancient Egypt. Like the Hearst Papyrus, it combines medical treatments with magical incantations, demonstrating the dual approach to healing in this era. 1500 BC. Saffron. In ancient Greece. Around 1500 BC, saffron was used as a medicine on the Aegean island of Thera in ancient Greece. This precious spice was believed to have healing properties, and its use in medicine highlights the cross-cultural exchange of medical knowledge in the ancient world. 1500 BC. Edwin Smith Papyrus. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, also from around 1500 BC, is an Egyptian medical text and the oldest known surgical treatise. Unlike many other medical texts of the time, it does not rely on magic but focuses on practical surgical procedures, marking a significant advancement in medical knowledge. Part 4. The birth of medical schools and specialization. 1300 BC. Brugsch and London Medical Papyri. By 1300 BC, the Brugsch and London Medical Papyri were created, adding to the body of knowledge in Egyptian medicine. These texts provide detailed descriptions of medical treatments and further emphasize the importance of specialized knowledge in ancient medicine. 1250 BC. Asclepios. Around 1250 BC, the figure of Asclepios, the Greek god of medicine, emerges. Asclepios was believed to possess the power to heal, and his legacy would inspire the establishment of healing temples, known as Asclepia, throughout ancient Greece. 9th century BC. Hesiod in the Pandora myth. In the 9th century BC, the Greek poet Hesiod introduced an ontological conception of disease through the Pandora myth. According to this myth, disease had a life of its own but was of divine origin, reflecting the belief that illness was a punishment from the gods. 8th century BC. Homer's Tales of Healing. Homer, in the 8th century BC, tells us about battlefield surgery in his epic poems. He describes how Polydamna supplied the Greek forces besieging Troy with healing drugs, and how surgeons like Idomeneus performed life-saving operations on the battlefield. Part 5. The foundations of rational medicine. 700 BC. The Nidus and Kos medical schools. By 700 BC, the Nidus and Kos medical schools were established in Greece. These schools would lay the foundations for rational medicine, moving away from supernatural explanations for disease and focusing on natural causes and treatments. 500 BC. BNK and acupuncture. In 500 BC, BNK, a Chinese physician, became the earliest known practitioner to use acupuncture in pulse diagnosis. His work would significantly influence traditional Chinese medicine, which continues to be practiced today. 500 BC. The Sushruta Samhita. Also around 500 BC, the Sushruta Samhita was published in India, laying the framework for Ayurvedic medicine. This text introduced many surgical procedures for the first time, such as lithotomy, forehead flap rhinoplasty, and otoplasty, demonstrating the advanced medical knowledge in ancient India. 500 BC. The invention of pills. Interestingly, pills were also used around 500 BC, presumably invented to deliver measured amounts of medicinal substances to patients. This innovation highlights the growing sophistication of medical practices in the ancient world. Part 6. The Age of Medical Pioneers. 510 to 430 BC. Alcmaeon of Croton. In the 5th century BC, Alcmaeon of Croton conducted scientific scientific anatomic dissections studying the optic nerves and the brain. He argued that the brain was the seat of the senses and intelligence, and distinguished veins from arteries. Altmann's work laid the foundation for future studies in anatomy and physiology. C. 490, c. 430, Empedocles and the Four Elements. Around the same time, the philosopher Empedocles proposed the theory of the four elements: earth, water, air, and fire. This theory would become a cornerstone of ancient and medieval medical thought, influencing how diseases were understood and treated. 420 BC. Hippocrates of Kos. No discussion of ancient medicine would be complete without mentioning Hippocrates of Kos. In 420 BC, Hippocrates maintained that diseases had natural causes and introduced the Hippocratic Oath, a set of ethical guidelines for physicians that is still in use today. Hippocrates is often regarded as the father of modern medicine for his contributions to clinical practice. Part 7. The expansion of medical knowledge. C. 400 BC. The Huangdi Neijing. Around 400 BC, the Huangdi Neijing, or the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine, was published in China. This foundational text laid the framework for traditional Chinese medicine, introducing concepts such as yin and yang, the five elements, and the meridian system. 4th century BC, Praxagoras and the pulse. In the 4th century BC, Praxagoras of Kos distinguished between veins and arteries and determined that only arteries pulse. His work contributed to the understanding of the circulatory system, a knowledge that would evolve over the centuries. 375–0295 BC, Diocles of Charistus. During this period, Diocles of Charistus emerged as a prominent physician in ancient Greece. His work focused on dietetics and hygiene, emphasizing the importance of a healthy lifestyle and maintaining good health. 323–283 BC, Herophilus and Erasistratus. Herophilus and Erasistratus, working in Alexandria around 300 BC, conducted scientific studies on the brain, nervous system, and blood vessels. They were among the first to perform human dissections, significantly advancing the understanding of human anatomy. 300 BC, Theophrastus. Around 300 BC, Theophrastus, a student of Aristotle, wrote about the medicinal properties of plants in his works, On the Causes of Plants and On the History of Plants. His work laid the foundation for the field of botany and the use of plants in medicine. Part 8. The Roman influence on medicine. 129–216 AD, Galen. In the Roman Empire, Galen of Pergamon was a physician and philosopher whose work would dominate Western medical thought for over a millennium. He expanded on Hippocratic medicine, focusing on the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile as the foundation of medical theory. Galen's extensive writings covered anatomy, physiology, pharmacology, and neurology, shaping the course of medicine well into the Renaissance. 4090 AD, Dioscorides and Materia Medica. In the 1st century AD, Dioscorides wrote De Materia Medica, a comprehensive text on herbal medicine that would remain a standard reference for over 1,500 years. His work catalogued hundreds of medicinal plants and their uses, influencing both Eastern and Western medical traditions. 98–138 AD, Celsus, a Roman encyclopedist, authored De Medicina, a detailed treatise on medical science that covered various aspects of health, including diet, surgery, and pharmacology. His emphasis on practical medical knowledge made his work a valuable resource for physicians throughout the Roman Empire. 132–10 AD, Cyrenus of Ephesus, a Roman physician, wrote extensively on gynecology and obstetrics, providing detailed descriptions of childbirth, infant care, and women's health. His work laid the foundation for the medical treatment of women in the ancient world. 216–277 AD, Rufus of Ephesus, another prominent Roman physician, made significant contributions to the understanding of anatomy and physiology. His work on the structure and function of the human body influenced later medical scholars and practitioners. Part 9. The rise of Islamic medicine. 9th century AD, Al-Razi. Rhazes. In the 9th century, the Islamic Golden Age brought significant advancements in medicine. Al-Razi, also known as Rhazes, was a Persian physician who wrote extensively on medical topics, including the famous Al-Hawi, an encyclopedic collection of medical knowledge. Al-Razi's work laid the foundation for modern clinical medicine, emphasizing the importance of observation and diagnosis. 10th century AD, Al-Sarawi, Al-Bucasis. In the 10th century, Al-Sarawi, known in the West as Al-Bucasis, wrote the Kitab al-Tasrif, a comprehensive medical encyclopedia that included detailed descriptions of surgical procedures and instruments. His work greatly influenced the development of surgery in both the Islamic world and Europe. 11th century AD, Ibn Sina, Avicenna. Ibn Sina, also known as Avicenna, was a Persian polymath whose Canon of Medicine became one of the most influential medical texts in history. The Canon synthesized the medical knowledge of the ancient Greeks, Romans, and Islamic scholars, providing a comprehensive guide to medicine that would be used for centuries in both the Islamic world and Europe. 12th century AD, Ibn Rushd, Averroes. Ibn Rushd, or Averroes, was a philosopher and physician who wrote extensively on medicine, including commentaries on the works of Galen and Aristotle. His work helped to bridge the gap between Islamic and Western medical knowledge, influencing the development of medical science in medieval Europe. Part 10. The Renaissance and the birth of modern medicine. 14th century AD, the Black Death. In the 14th century, the Black Death swept across Europe, killing millions and challenging the medical knowledge of the time. The pandemic led to a renewed interest in medicine and public health as physicians and scholars sought to understand and combat the plague. 15th century AD, the printing press. The invention of the printing press in the 15th century revolutionized the dissemination of medical knowledge. For the first time, medical texts could be mass-produced, making information more accessible to physicians and scholars across Europe. 16th century AD, Andreas Vesalius. In the 16th century, Andreas Vesalius, a Flemish anatomist, published De Humani Corporis Fabrica, a groundbreaking work on human anatomy. Vesalius's detailed illustrations and descriptions of the human body challenged the traditional teachings of Galen, laying the foundation for modern anatomy. 16th century AD, Paracelsus. Paracelsus, a Swiss physician and alchemist, revolutionized the practice of medicine by emphasizing the use of chemicals and minerals in treatment. He is often credited with founding the field of toxicology and introducing the concept of dose response, which remains a fundamental principle in pharmacology. 17th century AD, William Harvey. In the 17th century, William Harvey, an English physician, made a groundbreaking discovery by describing the circulation of blood and the role of the heart as a pump. His work laid the foundation for modern cardiovascular physiology and challenged the prevailing medical theories of his time. Conclusion. As we conclude our journey through the history of medicine, we see how each era contributed to the body of knowledge that continues to evolve today. From the ancient herbal remedies of early civilizations to the sophisticated medical technologies of the modern age, the quest for health and healing has been a central part of the human experience. This timeline is a testament to the resilience, curiosity, and compassion that drive the medical profession, reminding us that the pursuit of knowledge is a continuous and ever-expanding journey. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of medical history. As we move forward, may we continue to build on the knowledge of those who came before us, always striving to improve the health and well-being of humanity.